Go. Hi everybody, I am here. I think I'm live right now. Yes, I am. Steve Poikonen, how you doing, man?
I'm a little bit agitated, Gordon.
Are you
I'm
really?
a little bit fired up, and I'm hoping that we can kind of work through some of this together, my friend.
Well,
I am.
if you're fired up right now, imagine how fucking angry I am when my first question is, what's it like to have rights?
I'm
Because
you know
I
what?
don't think we've got any anymore.
We
Certainly not me.
we
I have
spent some time.
privileges. I have
We spent
privileges.
some.
George Carlin
We
was true. Right.
George Carlin was a prognosticator of the finest order. We spent some time on the Free Assange vigil last night. We putting out more content, obviously, because we're on lockdown too. Um, and we spent about half of our time last night on the speech that Boris Johnson delivered yesterday. That oh, and by the way, if you live in the UK, you don't have rights anymore, and more than two people, you'll be dispersed by the police. And at least in America, being dispersed by the police usually is punctuated by sticks or fists or bear mace. I am
Yeah. You see, I'm a little bit pragmatic about this situation as well because, yeah, I mean they are taking rights away as we are speaking. They're figuring ways of taking rights away. This is the bargaining. This is the politics that fucking happens. Oh God, I hate it. And they're taking the rights away as we speak. But the thing is, I'm a little bit pragmatic about it in that I do know the George Carlin way of thinking. You look at America, you look at the Japanese internment camps, you'll see all about your rights right there. Just when those people needed their rights the most, that's when they were taken away. And it's happening right now. It's happening right now over here. And people don't fucking realise it. Just when people need their rights the most, they take them away. Look at Julian Assange. If you think you have rights in this country, I have a fucking real reality check for you. You don't. You have a privilege. And if ever that privilege steps over the line and you tell much truth, bye-bye.
Yeah, this is something that needs to be made very, very clear. If your rights can be removed by the stroke of a pen, they
They don't
weren't
have.
rights to begin with.
They were
They were
privileges.
privileges. Yes, absolutely, 100%. If Caitlin Johnstone put out a tweet yesterday that's just brilliant and needs to be at the forefront of people's minds, and it's
Always.
if your country is going forward with removing your civil liberties before they are going forward with a relief plan or a healthcare plan,
No.
then your country never gave a damn about your civil liberties.
Before they even. Did you notice, though, the first thing they did? It was before they took away your rights. The first thing they did was they sorted out the people who pay the tax, the PAYE people, the people who are enslaved to pay this tax that creates this fucking fairy dust of a fucking Ponzi scheme that runs this whole shenanigans. They sorted out them first. Those people who were enslaved with their PAYE. If you're paying PAYE right now in the United Kingdom, you are the biggest fucking fool in this country. You really are. Whatever you're doing it wrong if you're paying PAYE. And the first thing they did was say, we'll pay 80% of your wages. Why? Because they're the people that keep this fucking thing going, baby. Yeah, and then they took your rights away. And that means everybody else, the self-employed and the unemployed and the people on universal credit and blah, 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 blah. And this is where we are right now. Well, I'm sitting here speaking to you angry as fuck
As
at
you
what
should
they're
be.
doing.
As you
You're
should
fucking
be. What?
saying to people, you've got to go onto the universal credit system to get their £94 a week or whatever the fuck they give you. And they don't give you that though, Steve. That's the con. They don't give it you. And they don't give it you. They sanction you to fuck and they take the money and they filter it away. Before you know it, you've got £4.60 fucking two and you're sitting there with a razor slitting your wrists. And this is what's fucking happening. And they don't give a fuck. In the House of Commons right now, I don't give a fuck about anything like this. This is reality. And they've been sticking their fucking heads in the sands, or worse, up some Zionist's ass. Selling their fucking our rights away for some dream over in fucking the Holy Land of Israel or whatever the greater fucking project is. And that's what's been happening. Junkets going over there, fucking people going over there from the Labour Party getting promised junkets and all sorts of fucking things on stolen land from Palestinians who are just, their rights are taken away from them and just thrown away, and it has been happening for decades, ever since World War II. And we plonked this fucking big pile of shit in the Middle East. And that's what we did. And it's been biting us in the ass ever since.
You're absolutely right. And I'm glad you mentioned your House of Commons. I'm going to discuss this in detail with Elizabeth Leah Voss on Thursday. But what I want to stress is that there is near uniformity within the Five Eyes countries on how they are handling this situation. If you look at the way that the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada has responded to coronavirus, it has been almost in lockstep. And what have they done, Gordon? They've stripped every last veneer of civil rights and liberties that we've had. They have wrung their hands on what a relief package is and should look like. They're taking donations and demanding that private citizens spend their own goddamn money to sew masks. Sew masks.
Now they're asking.
They don't have enough.
I know they're saying to people over here, Matt Hancock, right? He wants 250,000 volunteers, and people are now going, "Oh, look at the volunteers!" And I'm thinking, you fucking idiots! They're taking your rights away and enslaving you again, and you're doing it, applauding them, you fucking idiots! But it's the way they've been propagandized. It's almost like they're fucking programmed to be this way.
Yes, they are. So
by the media, they do it so much.
I live in one of the, if not the most heavily propagandized countries on the planet, and from birth we are just beaten over the head that you never question the military. You can question your government up to a point as long as you pick one team. As long as you're on red team or blue team, you can question some aspects of some part of your government, but at no point can you ever acknowledge that a national security state exists. Yeah. At no point can you call out or notice the near uniformity of these countries, these Five Eyes countries, and how they implement problem, reaction, solution. Yeah. Problem, we have a global pandemic. Reaction, mass buying of toilet paper.
Do you know how actually, you know what? I investigated that. Do you know how I think this started? This is my honest, from what I actually investigated, this is how this fucking toilet paper thing started. Because as far as I can tell, shitting is not a real problem. And it's not a real side effect of getting the COVID-19 virus. And you know what? Even if it is, you can wash your arsehole. The French have a fucking bidet to do just that. There are other nations that have other ways of doing it. You can go outside and wipe your ass on a dock leaf. I've done it when I got my ass stung by a nettle when I was 4. The way I think this started, from what I can tell, is it started in Australia, and there was a viral video of 2 really overweight black women. And I remember the only reason I saw it is because there's a guy called Osman Reviews or something like that, and he was doing a funny commentary of it. And I looked into it, and it seems that it started in Australia. This is from, I don't know whether this is true, this is just from what I found out. It started in Australia, this toilet paper panic buying did, because they banned products coming in from China because China had got the virus outbreaking there. So the first thing Australians did was go, "No, mate, no, nothing from your fucking country's coming in here." Worst Australian accent ever, but you see what I mean. That's the first thing they did. They, remember the ship that the migrants, and they just said, "Nah, sorry, mate, fucking Bondi Beach is closed to you, cobber." That's what they do. So they closed down the fucking products coming in from China. And one of the products that was apparently quite a luxurious item was this toilet paper from China. And people were going to the aisles hoarding this toilet paper, knowing that it wasn't going to come in anytime soon. Not that there would be a shortage of toilet paper in general, but just this one product was going to be a shortage of. Other people saw this and started thinking, oh fuck, we need toilet paper. From my investigations, that's how it started. And you know what? I bet you, even if that's wrong, that's the way it fucking started.
No, I tend to agree with that.
Why toilet paper? It makes no sense whatsoever.
When people panic buy, there's not a thought process to that. I mean, I'm sure you've seen viral videos of people trying to kill each other.
But why not canned goods?
The day after Thanksgiving for a goddamn Xbox, right? It's not like there aren't going to be more Xboxes. It's not like there isn't going to be more toilet paper. But when people get into panic mode, that's 100% lizard brain, Gordon. It's 100% fear-driven response, and they're going to do dumb shit.
They have done, because my mum went out today on our regularly Monday shop, and I said, "You sure you're going to be okay?" Mum was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." And she went out, she come back, and she said, "Yeah, all the panic buying's over now. People have just realised, oh fuck, there's nothing to really get that. We didn't need to buy this mountain of fucking toilet paper anymore." And you know what? The way things are going, you won't need toilet paper to wipe your ass. You'll have a £1 note. You can do it quite, because it'll be worth about as much. The way we're going, the way this economy is, they've shut it down, Steve.
And we are being told, at least here in the U.S., that thanks to our saviors in the House Democratic Caucus, in the House Democratic Party, we are going to have a digital currency. We are going to have cash.
Is this why Max Kaiser is having an orgasm on Twitter right now?
I believe so.
Honestly, I think that man is going to ejaculate himself out. He's been, honestly, him and Stacey, you can see. Have you seen his show with him and Stacey Herbert on RT?
I've seen some clips, but I'm not a regular.
I watch them, and honestly, whenever I'm watching them, I think they're about to rip each other's clothes off there. Because they have been honestly jerking each other off live about this sort of shit for about 8 or 10 years. You could go back, and there's a whole fucking decade of them talking about this. And this digital thing why is cryptocurrency going to be the future, mate? What makes this transition, if it is a transition period, any different to any other?
Well, what
because they're going to fucking take the power away. They always do.
What you can do with cryptocurrency that is harder to do with pound notes and harder to do with dollar bills is you can tie the cryptocurrency to a track trace database. You can tie your currency to ostensibly what is a social credit score. So this is blockchain, yeah? Yeah. Although with the U.S., how they want to do it, how they want to roll it out, how we want to be, transition to a digital currency economy, I don't think that there will be a decentralized open source blockchain. I think that it will be proprietary software. I think that it will be private code, and I think that
it will be abused like a fucking bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
abused like a ginger stepchild. You know it's going to be, because that's what they did with the financial system that we've got now.
100%.
Whatever I know my mate Mohammed Al-Mazi, he calls his website the Interregnum. He talks about the authoritarianism that's coming down on. He was on Chris Edges, I remember, and on Contact. It was a good interview. I really do worry about this turn that we have taken in the United Kingdom. I worry about this authoritarian move. And do you know what really fucking gets to me? Is the people cheering this on are the very people who were supporting Jeremy Corbyn last year. Die-hardly. While I was going, whoa, this is fucked up. And they're now cheering on. It's like, I think to myself, why would you cheer on the army in the streets? So, and it's supporting the police, they say. Supporting the police in what? I saw an interview today from the West Midlands Police, a tweet from West Midlands Police. I want to ask you about this because this is bothering me. Because, you know what? I don't get many followers on Twitter, but I get some shit and you get to, feel the water. There was a tweet by the West Midlands Police saying that people weren't taking the advice to stop at home and practice social distancing and all that bollocks that they've been saying to everybody. I don't want to say bollocks because it is serious. It is serious. And I am not one of these people who think that the coronavirus is a hoax or anything like that. I think it is serious. I've got an elderly mother. I've got friends who have got chest problems and lung problems. If this is a real thing, I want to fucking protect them until we've got some sort of way of treating them to make sure that they don't die.
Of course.
But I'm also somebody who really worries about how they use things like this to manipulate things and manipulate people into doing whatever the fuck they want and then cheering it on. Like, the people who were supporting Corbyn last year who are now saying, let's, I responded to a tweet by the West Midlands Police who was saying that basically that they had gone in and raided. I'll show it, actually. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll show it, and I'm sure I'll cut this because I'm going to cut this interview, Steve, into many little bits, little segments as I have before. And I want to show people this because this is something that I think it highlights really the not just the situation we're in, but also how the herd mentality works. And Boris Johnson has been talking about, well, not Boris Johnson, but people have been putting herd mentality out there. And this is what I catch on to things. And I just think, they don't mean that when they mean that. They mean something else,
100%.
So there's a tweet that I caught on today. And it was the West Midlands Police, which is where I live. And they had broken up a fucking barbecue.
A barbecue.
I'm not shitting you.
How noble.
The West Midlands Police broke up barbecue. What do you think about that, Steve? Before I find this shit, what do you think about that? The West Midlands Police broke up a barbecue. Now, can I just add this before you make your comment? To the point where they say, according to the West Midlands Police tweeter, they pushed over the barbecue, then left. Do you think this is fake news or not, mate? It was from the West Midlands Police Twitter account. I'm sure of it.
I hope it's fake news because, look, the solution to ending a barbecue is not tipping over the barbecue. The solution to ending a barbecue is playing really, really shitty music really, really loud. If you want a crowd to disperse, go ahead and grab like a boy band or some K-pop and just blare that shit. People are going to leave. You don't endanger the park. You don't endanger the people by knocking over something that's on fire. I mean, it sounds like an American reaction to me. It sounds like the West Midlands Police have been sitting home during lockdown and watching videos of like the LAPD or the New York City cops in a stop and frisk routine. And it worries me that when you already have a nation hyper afraid, and you're sending out your police force to disrupt or disperse
I know.
people who are hyper afraid. You're putting everyone in a condition where they're only going to be thinking with their fight or flight response. And if you're a cop, your first thought is fight.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Yeah, I mean, they're trained for this shit. It's like they wear jack boots. They've got their fucking uniforms on. I don't give a fuck, man. They're programmed like a fucking agent in the Matrix. That's their job. Woo! This is the parameters I see.
yeah.
Oh, barbecue, people. 20. You know what? You know what my first question is to this, right? This is West Midlands. This is the West Midlands. You know what? We've got some pretty famous people that live here, really quite famous. And I'm thinking, you know what? I could go out of this door, and within, honestly, half a mile, I would see a mosaic for Denise Lewis, who is a great British athlete who won gold in the heptathlon in one of the Olympics gone by. She's a fantastic person, really educated. And I'm thinking, if she was having a barbecue with 19 of her friends, do you think the West Midlands police would have walked in, and then if she refused to disperse her crowd because of social distancing rules, that they would have tipped her barbecue over like this? This is I am showing people now, Steve, sorry you're obscured. This is the West Midlands Police. They say, despite the government's clear instructions last night, our officers were shocked to find a group of 20 plus people ignoring the lockdown at a barbecue earlier today. If people do not listen to our advice, then we will move to enforcement, they say, Steve. Please, hashtag stay home, save lives. What do you think about that, mate?
I mean, I think that is a declaration of intent. I think that's a declaration of an authoritarian armed paid security for the ruling elite to tell you that they have now put you in their sights. That
I keep remembering Mohammed Al-Marzi's interview with Chris Hedges, saying this authoritarian turn is really quite worrying, you know, the way Mohammed Al-Marzi does. He's wonderful. Sorry, carry on.
No, and Mo has he's been on the Free Assange vigils. He's been on my show. He's a wonderful human being, and I'm very grateful to the writing that he's put out, especially in terms of covering Julian Assange.
Yeah, me too.
I can hear him say that. I can hear his voice when he talking to Hedges about that. We're past the point where we need to be concerned or worried. We are now.
Well, I mean, this is the point where I'm really concerned, Steve, just to shut you off there, but this is the point where I'm really concerned, where I see this is my local police constabulary doing this. I'm going to show people the article now rather than the tweet. Hope you don't mind.
No.
It says this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Steve. Our officers break up 20-strong barbecue, defying the lockdown orders. It was 20 people gathering. Who knows? Those 20 people might be. You know what? Did any of them ask? Did any of the police officers who ran in there with jack boots? Do you think that they were trained to ask first, and then maybe the explanation was, well, actually, we're 20 sufferers of depression who are really worried about this lockdown because this might be the last people that we see for the next month. And because we suffer from depression and, we live at home and we don't have contact with people anyway, so we can only infect each other. Did any of them, do you think any of them would be trained to maybe think of that scenario, Steve, before they go in there with their jack boots?
I don't know how police training goes in the UK, but let me give you a breakdown.
It's us, but without the gun. It's you, but without the guns.
Yeah, because here you
We're
get
all
like,
trained by the IDF, so.
but that's true, and here you take the 6 weeks course where the majority of your time is spent learning how to subdue, injure, or otherwise take down a human being. You spend an inordinate amount of time at the shooting range. You get a 6-hour class on psychology, and then they give you a badge and tell you to get out there, Johnny, and be the fucking law.
Well, this is the result of that over here, but without the guns. See, in America, this would have probably ended in these people being shot. But over here, you'll see how sad we are and how pathetic we are. We're your puppy dogs. Let's face it. Despite the government's clear social distancing instruction last night, this article says from the West Midlands Police.uk, our officers today found a group of 20 people ignoring the lockdown and tucking into a barbecue. Neighbourhood officials were on patrol in Foleshill Road, Coventry. So this is about 30 miles from me, Steve, just to give you some sort of geographical location. And Coventry is where, do you know where the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, well, that sounds like a really official company, doesn't it, mate? What sort of images? If you were an uneducated pleb on the street, what would you think the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights is? Do you think it is? Doom, 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 doom.
I would assume that they're an NGO that monitors the human rights of Syria. Syrian citizens.
Yeah, and a big charity, maybe, that's funded by Bill Gates and Elon Musk?
Sure.
Okay, so the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights is actually a guy in Coventry. I made the connection. It's a guy in Coventry who fled Syria some years ago because he was facing his fourth, I think. Might have been third, but I think it was fourth. I think he served jail 3 times for fraud or other misdemeanors, and then he was facing fraudulent charges to go to jail for a 4th time. Now, I don't know whether this is a dissident who was being treated badly by the Assad regime, or whether he's somebody who is just a fucking cunt. I don't know. But what I do know is he came over here and the UK government gave him £96,200 in equipment for his Syrian Observatory for Human Rights that he then set up. And then he got loads of people from Syria to phone in loads of shit. And before you know it, he's the fucking Bible on what's happening in Syria and how many deaths there are and whose fault it is. It's a guy in Coventry, 30 miles from me, who doesn't know shit, who has faced a fucking jail sentence or something like that in Syria. I don't know fucking what, but whatever we are involved in Syria is a fucking cancer on our country, and it needs to fucking stop. Because this shit, whatever it is, whatever the reason we are there, is fucking toxic. And it's almost like I can feel it. And they are creating these little fucking NGOs like Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which sounds like a wonderful charity. And the White Helmets won the fucking Oscar, which the Syrian people are saying, no, they're with the terrorists. That's what the Syrian people are saying. I see Aleppo, I see pictures of Aleppo liberated, and these fucking White Helmets bases are right next door to Al-Nusra. How do you square that fucking circle? Foreign Office of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth? How do you fucking explain that, you motherfuckers? And why is it that a guy in a council flat in the West Midlands, who is looking at bullshit right now from the West Midlands Police, who I am not fucking kidding you, mate, I'm going to show it right now, tipped over the fucking barbecue?
I Yeah, no, I mean, it's emblematic of just how much the fear has been ratcheted up over this thing. Stefania Maruzzi, who's an Italian journalist, has been doing great coverage on Julian Assange. She tweeted out this morning, Italy is reporting its first drop in COVID-related deaths. And here's the thing that people really need to remember. There's never been a patient zero. B, the people that have died of COVID-19 also had at least 1, 2, 3 other things wrong with them. There's a 39-year-old American citizen who's supposed to have died from this, who they said had leukemia.
Yeah. And you know what, Steve? I want to stop you there and I want to explain something, right? Nothing that I think me or Steve is going to say tonight is going to be saying this virus is a hoax and it doesn't kill. Correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
I want that on the record now, but I want to explain to people they are using this to take your fucking rights away, and they are doing it by bungling it along the way. They're making themselves look incompetent, but all along they're not. This is a fucking sketch from Yes Minister. I have fucking shown it. My buddy Jamal, he sent me a tweet the other day. He was like, "Can you come on my show?" Because he's got this political. I'm like, I don't need to explain it. There you go. That's the plan. That's the plan.
If I don't know if your audience has or not. If you're not, our good friend Jason Burmis has been doing wonderful work on covering this COVID story. And Jason has been showing and breaking down the videos from Event 201, which was a simulated exercise conducted by Johns Hopkins University and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation 44 days before they announced that there was a coronavirus that had been found in the U.S. and was going to cause a pandemic.
Okay, carry on with what you're saying. I'm just going to nip out of camera for a second. I am listening, though. I promise you. Carry on.
No, that's absolutely fine. In this exercise, this simulated event, there are representatives from the CDC, from the World Bank, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The people who are discussing this are unelected global players on a global stage. And when you hear them talk, what they're discussing never once is in terms of how this is going to affect humanity or what this is going to do to our civil rights, our civil liberties. What they talk about is how can we protect the corporation's bottom line? Yeah. How can we keep continuity of commerce, Gordon?
And the sheep go along with it and argue with each other as to which, and nobody's there saying it's all fucking bullshit. And you talk about how the parameters of conversation. My mate, I was going to circle back to this. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I don't know whether I've got the virus or not, but I'm self-isolating. So hey, I'm doing the right thing. Carl Kolinsky talks about the Overton window a lot. You're allowed to argue within these parameters as much as you want, and it's almost like they set up they're setting up the rules of the argument. It's like you can't set up a rules of an argument. What if I want you to call you a cunt, and me calling you a cunt is actually the right way to shut down your argument? You can't set up the rules for that, can you?
No, not a bit. So you're familiar with Chomsky's work, Manufacturing Consent, yeah? I propose, and I'm actually have part of an outline complete. There's a book that I'm going to write, and it's called Manufacturing Confusion, and it is my contention that
I'm signing up.
Since the ink was dry on the Patriot Act, if not before, consent had been manufactured. Chomsky wrote it in 1989. We are in 2020. We are 31 years removed from that book. Now, the primary function of media, of legacy or establishment or predator class media, however you want to describe it, their primary function, Gordon, is to manufacture confusion, to get people arguing all sides of the same conversation within the allowable parameters of that conversation. Both the Q people and the US neoliberals want to bomb and destabilize brown countries.
Isn't that really weird how they both align on that?
Yeah.
Those Q people and those neo. Do you see how they both align?
And then we've got independent media that is still falls under the rubric of those 6 corporations that own most of the
Do you mean the Young Turks by any chance?
You know what? We can get to the young.
I've got all night, buddy. I've got all fucking month. I'm not going nowhere.
We can get to the young Katzenbergs on this. We can. Their function is to make sure that people are as distracted with as many different social justice-based issues or economic issues, but never once addressing the fact, Gordon, that we don't have countries that run intelligence agencies. We have intelligence agencies that run
countries. Oh,
That's where we're at.
You know what? I've been just to take you back to this, by the way, people, and just in case you didn't see this, this is the article from the West Midlands Police saying that they tipped the fucking barbecue over. One woman shouted, quote, my children need to eat. You know what? This might have been when you actually think about it, Steve, this just gets even fucking worse. It says, I'm going to read this fucking article. You know what? I haven't even read this article yet. I just looked at the pictures and I was fucking infuriated. And you know what?
You should go through it because I have to step off camera briefly. So please go through the article.
I can hear you go and drain the main vein or whatever you got to do. It says this: old and young gathered at a barbecue in total disregard for social distancing instructions. You know, is this the West Midlands Police? Is it them trolling us? Is this fake news? Did this really happen? Or is this the way that they are sheepdogging people? This is in Coventry. I'm going to find this out, even if I have to go around and knock on their door. Anyway, it says this: old and young gathered. If it's not fake, Steve, this is really worrying. If it's not fake, and if it is fake, that's even more worrying, because then that means they're really manipulating fucking public opinion on this. Anyway, it says this: old and young gathered at barbecue in total disregard for social distancing instructions. Our officers told the group it was unacceptable and they needed to adhere to social distancing guidelines to help slow down the spread of the coronavirus. Despite the warning, the group refused and began protesting that they should be allowed to continue their barbecue. Who knows? Like I say, this could be a group of people suffering from depression. It could be a group of people, I don't know, that were getting for one last fucking leg over orgy before they go home to their husbands. I don't give a fuck. You're infringing on people's civil liberties. Right now, those people might actually be really responsible people. I've been out to a supermarket. I've come in within fucking 2 meters of people. How can you not? They're cramming people into fucking trains. Despite the warning, the group refused and began protesting they should be allowed to continue their barbecue. One woman shouted, quote, my children need to eat. So they might have been all fucking really poor and come together and put some meat on the barbecue to try and feed the whole family before they hunker down and eat all the frozen shit that's been in the bottom of the freezer with the nastiness and from last Christmas. But could not explain why she wasn't cooking for them at home in her kitchen. Well, maybe she was just fucking too ashamed to admit that because she's self-employed and the government haven't helped her, and she tried to go online today at the Universal Credit, but there was a fucking queue of 76,685 people waiting in front of her, and she couldn't get any money because she's self-employed as a prostitute, and she doesn't want to fucking do that anymore, but she didn't want to speak it in front of... You know, there were all sorts of fucking reasons that the woman didn't want to say this shit. Why she wasn't cooking them at home. And that's the line they take. And it says our officers were forced to tip the barbecue over as the defiant group initially refused to leave. In the end, our officers felt they needed to end the gathering by tipping over the barbecue and insisting the group disperse to their homes. Where the fuck do they think they are? Do they think they're in the West Bank?
The framing on that is just it's mind-boggling. You've got you're shaming the woman for not cooking for her kids at home. You're shaming them for, I love the words in the first or second paragraph of the article, freely mingling. How dare you mingle freely? Don't you know that free assembly is gone? Don't you know that all semblance of what at least the U.S. Bill of Rights had gets suspended during martial law? And they won't call it martial law, Gordon, because then they have to admit that they have ceded control 100% in broad daylight to a military cabal, to a military junta.
Yeah, they're all either bought or leveraged. All of them. It's just the way it's one of those. They've all got somebody's bitch that they fucking answer to. All of them. You look, honestly, why the fuck? Why? Can I ask you this, Steve? If Jeffrey Epstein never made a trade and he's such a wonderful financial wizard, why do so many people go to him for financial advice? People such as, I don't know, Peter Mandelson, a politician in this country who, whenever he came on screen, honestly, in my head, I heard the tune. Honestly, all through my life, that's what I heard. And now I find out that Jeffrey Epstein has 14 ways to contact Peter Mandelson. Well, what a fucking surprise.
No, you're absolutely right. So, and there's no answer to that doesn't wind up with extortion, blackmail, or other forms of control by setting these people that want to be in power or on the precipice of power up with underage girls or underage boys, however,
whatever.
Because
if they're doing it with sex, they're doing it with everything else. They're doing it with gambling. They're doing it with hookers. They're doing it with normal stuff that you and I might. They're doing it with me wanking at angry midget porn. I don't know. They can look at you through your fucking screen now. You don't know.
And at least here in the US,
and I'd just like to go on the record to say that I have managed to finish by wanking at angry midget porn. There's nothing to be ashamed of, guys. We're just little monkeys having a go. That's it. Spinning around a big fucking flaming ball that religious people say, you know that thing in the sky? Told me you've got to give me half your money.
This is way off topic, but I used to work for Renaissance festivals around the country, and I would be at a Renaissance festival for like 2 months and then go 600 to 2,000 miles to my next job for another 2 months. In upstate New York one year, there was a place called the Ramapo Valley Brewing Company. It was our hangout. We got to know the bartenders and the staff really, really well. We got invited to a private party for 2 of the bartenders' birthdays. We walk in, and I swear to God, Gordon, not only is Bridget the Midget of porn fame there, but Kid Rock's midget is also there. I found out that night that you could hire a midget to come to your party and just hang out and like do whatever. but you had to pay an hourly rate to have famous midgets come to your party. And at first I was like, God, that's the coolest fucking thing ever. I can't wait to throw a party, you know? But as the night progressed, I found, like I witnessed with my own eyes, people doing everything they could to exploit the fact that there was a rent-a-midget at the party. It was just
This sounds like something out of Wolf of Wall Street.
Damn near.
You're throwing them at a target.
Jello wrestling. There was Jello wrestling and there were a couple other midgets that were there that were not as famous. But Bridget the midget wrestled one of them. There was, fully grown, regular tall people, or that also got a chance to go and get in the Jello pools and wrestle them a couple of midgets. Like, this was a pretty wild fucking party, man. But I can't imagine atypical if that's your thing.
You know what? I'm sure it's somebody's thing, whatever it is. Fucking midgets.
I lived briefly in Kansas City. There was a bar there across from the Buzzard Beach that had midget wrestling every Thursday night. And like, you would go to the Buzzard and you would see a line around the corner.
How long ago was this, Steve?
Let's see, 2009 maybe.
So this is just 10 years. Can you imagine that happening now? I mean, it probably, I can't imagine it happening in the UK, you see. So I'm just thinking geographically how things are different, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you're out here. Tell me about how things are going over there at the moment, because you've got one of these elections at the moment this year when whoever wins, your lives are going to improve immediately day after. Especially, apparently, if you listen to people like Neera Tanden, who say that we've all got to get behind Joe, even though Joe is dribbling into his breakfast each morning. And that's where we are.
Where we are, and I'm going to make this perfectly clear in case your audience doesn't know me. My show.
Yeah, sorry, I should have introduced you, but I thought, fuck it. Cool. You know what? Best way to do it is just to go. Yeah.
No, I fully agree. My show is not a U.S. political horse race show. There are a lot of people that have that. There are a lot of people that do that. I made a point to declare on episode 0 that this show was not going to be a campaign commercial for your pet politician. And I do not think that we have a political solution to the problems the United States faces within the current system. So I'm not one of those guys that's going to just bleed all over the screen for Bernie Sanders every day. It is unfortunate that he's once again being robbed of an election.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is really, it's unfortunate, Steve. I wouldn't say your best adjective, but carry on.
It's equally unfortunate then that Bernie Sanders has never once called out the rigging that has happened to him. And he has made a lot of unforced errors throughout the last 5 years. And when the errors only go one way, Gordon, are they really errors at that point?
No. Glenn Greenwald pointed this out brilliantly with Russiagate, didn't he? How do you know how every single fucking error was excuse me COVID-19. I'm not smoking weed, honest. They all seem to go one way, and it's all the way that Russiagate's going to collapse. Sorry, that's another question.
No, it's okay. But where we're at right now is we had an election a week ago today. Primary elections. 3 states voted. Joe Biden's campaign team was telling people they had to go out in the middle of a pandemic and get in line and close proximity to each other, and then go into an even smaller enclosed space with as many of them as would fit. And that was how we could, regain our democracy. Bernie Sanders didn't discourage people from going voting. Didn't necessarily encourage them, but didn't discourage them. Um, and we've got a democratic socialist, sort of a Democrat in the FDR mold, who is there to fix capitalism, not to destroy it, but to fix it, versus
He's lost
a
me already.
tween sniffing, brain addled, war criminal, racist, segregationist, friendly, lionizing, absolute piece of human shit.
Who
And
the media over there just he's Joe. It's
yeah,
Joe.
yeah, it's
Look, Joey are
what he
friends.
does.
It's Joey are
You know,
friends. It's Matt Tribbiani. I know he's demented, but look at him. He says the
Right.
right things that we tell him and write down to say.
So he felt up an 11-year-old girl. Who doesn't do that?
So
It's
what?
Joey B, baby.
So what
But
if he sniffs you at every single opportunity? It doesn't matter. He's
the
Joe.
amount.
He's America. Bum, 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 America. That's
Think
what it
of it
is,
this
isn't it,
way,
mate?
though.
It's a big show. Big
Think
show.
of it
And at
this-
least my mate John White over here, he says that America and Trump is the monster with the mask removed. And that's what I love about Trump as well. Is I love with Trump, he calls out the media for the fake shit it is. That really lands with everybody because everybody knows that. And I'm going to get back to that, by the way. Remind me about that. I want to get back to that West Midlands police article because I'm not finished with that motherfucker yet. Not by a damn sight. Especially the motherfuckers on Twitter who replied to me for what I said. Like I said, Steve, you said you like talking to angry people. I'm fucking angry.
Then. Fucking solidarity, brother. I'm here for you. The only people that we can count on is each other right now, and that is just fucking brazenly obvious. I do want to make a point, though, that I was wrong about Joe Biden. I predicted he would be gone by Super Tuesday. That prediction was wrong.
How could you not predict that? The guy is a dribbling mess.
Well, it dawned on me right about early February that no one running for president on the Democratic side is more malleable or programmable than a guy who breaks off mid-sentence to wander off camera during the middle of a fucking
Did you hear that, Kate? You mentioned Caitlin Johnston earlier. Did you read that article? The headline of it. I've got to show it, in fact. You know, it was so good. It was, I remember saying, this is Caitlin at her best. This is, for anybody who's watching, if you haven't read Caitlin Johnston or been introduced with Caitlin Johnston, I want to tell you this. I have come across some great writers in my time, but she made me quit getting the camera and go, ah! That's all I can do. She can just encapsulate it brilliantly. And what were we talking about? Sorry, I've had a few beers off.
Oh, you were looking for Caitlin's article on Joey B.
Yeah, the title of her article was he said something and then did something, and it's the way she wrote it. I'm sorry, like I say, I've had a beer and I don't drink it that much, Steve. By the way, how are you feeling about this coronavirus while I look for this? With you smoking so much, mate?
Well, so look, I am a relatively healthy human being. My job is in construction, and I'm a builder and a handyman. I work my ass off, and I'm in pretty good shape. I do need to quit smoking, but I told myself that I would give myself at least 3 years after I quit drinking before that, and it's been 3.5 years, so I'm in my window. I have been alcohol free the entire Trump presidency, which if you knew me prior might surprise you.
You've gone without alcohol since 2017. January
2016.
2017.
No, it was November 2016. It was the day after the Chicago Cubs won the World Series.
But that's also when Donald Trump won.
Well, he was elected. Yeah, November 2016. That's what. Yeah. So
when did the Cubs win the World Series?
November 3rd, 2016. So it would have been the day after, just before people voted on election day.
All right. It was
yeah.
So was this a conscious decision?
Pardon?
Was this a conscious decision to stop drinking? Because honestly, I'm drinking. I've had a drink. We're fucking lockdown.
Yeah.
I've got my dog. And that's it. So I'm drinking. How do you miss it?
You know what, man? I really don't. And I thought I would. But I was drinking not to have a good time. I was drinking to fucking shut my entire being down.
To forget things or to numb things or Yeah,
straight up. And removing myself from that as a solution and finding other solutions, I'm a much more productive human being. And I communicate better with the people around me. So it was one of those things that benefited me. I don't begrudge anyone for fucking grabbing a fifth and, getting weird on lockdown. I don't. Like, fucking, you go do that. Go do your thing. I'm much more happy with occasionally microdosing and smoking some herb.
All right, so I found this article. It says despicable. This is from Caitlin Johnston. Joe Biden promotes Trumpian conspiracy theory that Joe Biden has dementia. Quote, and so the whole point of this is that we can do a lot to deal with endangered species, Biden continued, speaking all. That's an accurate title from a journalist, isn't it, mate?
It is. She's brilliant.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on explaining to me what the fuck is going on in America, because I remember at the same time as our biggest scandal over here was that Theresa May was her biggest vice was she was running through fields of wheat. At that same time, I think I'm right in saying that the big scandal in America was that some prostitute, what was her name, Stormy Daniels, was fucking Donald, the president, and banging him on the bottom with their edition of the fucking Woman's Weekly.
The Wall Street Journal.
It's like, that's the difference between the two countries.
Yeah, well, I say on my show a lot that we live in a fucking cartoon. And I think that it's illustrative that we live in a fucking cartoon, that we had a president win a Nobel Peace Prize who proceeded to continue 2 illegal wars and start 5 new ones. And then he was replaced by a guy who's an actual fucking game show host and in the WWE Hall of Fame. He's in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
And he lamped Vince McMahon. He had
this guy.
Was it Vince?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, he gave Linda McMahon a cabinet position. I don't know if you knew that or not, but Linda McMahon got a cabinet position.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's
what's that? I'm trying to think of what's that the equivalent of. That's the equivalent of like that's the equivalent of like David Cameron giving a cabinet position to who's that? Graham Norton.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh, fucking. You know what? There were a few people.
It would be like making Stephen.
If it was Eddie Izzard, I wouldn't mind. But
yeah, but no. She, Linda McMahon, is the administrator of the small business association, some shit like that. Like her husband has a multi-billion-dollar. Oh no, I guess she is. She was the president now. It's something like I don't follow wrestling.
Oh, they probably fucking did it for tax purposes, whatever it was.
We live in a fucking cartoon, and we've got one game show host who is clearly in the early onset stages of Alzheimer's, running against the pre-selected nominee in Joe Biden, who can't string 3 sentences together without either being racist or slurring his words or wandering off. And that's where that's the choice that people are supposed to get. George Carlin talked extensively about the illusion of choice.
Yeah, he did, mate. But I just want to pull you up. Aren't we living in a fucking episode of South Park right now?
More or less.
I mean, you've basically got Trump there, like Mr. Garrison, saying, "I'm going to fuck every country in this fucking world, Mr. Hat," and that's basically what he's doing. I'm going to fuck you, the United Kingdom. I'm going to fuck you too. What the fuck were your allies? I'm gonna fuck you. I'm gonna sanction you, you motherfucker. What the fuck is going on?
Honestly, Donald Trump is as much as he is the
natural progression of where you should be. We are where we should be.
I've said this for a long time. Trump is the natural progression.
Yeah.
When you've got one party.
Boris Johnson here too.
Yeah.
I would like to say that right now. You carry on. I'll explain why now. Next.
Yeah, you've got one party in the U.S. and it's the public relations firm for the predator class, and they have to make you argue over the most ridiculous shit. They have to make you care about nonsensical issues, because if you stopped and you looked at what they do for a second, you would realize that the Democrats have supported 82% of Donald Trump's agenda. Barack Obama's agenda was dictated to him by Citigroup and the CIA. We've got nothing but our only jobs program is the Army. Gordon, that's our only fucking jobs program, is the United States military.
I would just like to add not just your jobs program, but also your college program as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They've been hanging that over people's heads because the military recruiters prey on the working.
That's how they replaced conscription, baby. What happened at that time? That's how they did it. That's how they replaced the draft.
And you know what? People talk about, we need to reinstate the draft.
Who are you going to go and fight for, Shell? You're going to have a fucking badge on your fucking shoulder saying Exxon? What the fuck?
Ought to.
This is what I look at. I look at these people now going off to fucking... Do you remember the videos of them? When they were looking at that, what was it? They were going... Was it with Iran? When tensions were heightened with Iran recently, there was loads of videos coming out about that guy. I just looked at him, I just thought, it's so sad that this is what we've come to. That person thought he was doing... He's no more... I put it to you, Steve, he's no more radicalised than a guy who was strapping fucking knives to his hands on London Bridge. Honestly, they're the same fucking people. When are people going to learn? This is how they are manipulating you. Stop it. Stop fighting. Why are you going over there right now? Oh, he's sending 2,000 troops to Iraq. For what? To fight for what? Oil? The very thing that's propping up your fucking almighty dollar? That is also the libertarians. Sorry, not libertarians. Libertarians are... Well, we'll have another fucking conversation about that. But the liberals are saying is the very thing that's choking us out of existence. And it's the thing that our world's currency is based on and propped up by. We are living in a fucking episode of South Park.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this: if the last
I need to go and watch some Rick and Morty.
All right, in the last few weeks, if the entire U.S. population hasn't been fully convinced that our money is faith-based and imaginary, I don't know what will convince them. Over $5 trillion, Gordon, of money from fucking nowhere,
I
of some
know.
keystrokes on a computer.
When I went on Twitter the other day and I said something like, you don't have to adhere to this system. The reason that the Bank of England was created was because 40 people actually got together, rich people, to finance a king's war. That's how the Bank of England be. Learn history. Beautiful. I've only recently done it. I wish I did it at school, but the guy was a cunt. That's just the way it is. I had my dick in my hand. But I'm sorry, mate, but that's honestly the way you don't understand life until you've lived a fucking load of mistakes. And I just look at people now and I feel so sad that there are so many people going into war based on lies, based on oil, based on the petrodollar that the fucking media never, ever mention. And it's the reason for the Patriot Act.
Oh, absolutely. And while we're on the Patriot Act, it's getting reauthorized right now.
Of course. Why? Because it's all a theatre and they're all bought by the same fucking companies.
We've got something called the Earn It Act. Gordon, I don't know if you've heard about this or not yet, but the Earn It Act is what is going to kill end-to-end encryption for private citizens. Under the guise of we have to protect the children from pedophiles. When the pedophiles are creating the bill.
South Park! For the children! Fucking South Park, I swear it! Sorry, mate, continue.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But we've got
I'm being dramatic. It's me and my dog for a week.
Brother, I've at least got some children and a wife to keep me company. It'll be neat if we don't kill each other in the next couple of weeks. What was I gonna say?
Okay, all right. I want to ask actually, just to if you said what I was going to say, can you remember?
No, go ahead.
All right, I want to talk to you about something else then. I want to talk to you about Tulsi. Explain.
All right.
Explain. How do you feel? You know what? I know that you are a fair person who can look at this objectively, and this is what I respect more about you. This is why I respect you more than any fucking Chris Hedges or Rachel Maddow or anything.
Oh, well, thank you
because
very
you can
much.
look at something objectively and fairly and base it upon something that you have researched extensively, and I know you have. Go. Explain.
So
explain.
I was not surprised about this whatsoever. This didn't shock me. It didn't make me lose faith I never had in Tulsi Gabbard. Again, I don't believe that there is a political solution to the problems that America faces inside the current system. And if you're operating inside the current system and trying to get elected inside that current system, you are not going to be doing the things that I think need to be done.
Okay.
So I'll say that first and foremost.
All right. Can I jump in there and just make maybe a revelation? Maybe she just went, I agree. Fuck it. Maybe she just went to you right now. I agree. Fuck it. The right thing for me to do right now, do what I'm trained for. National Guard. It's needed. Went to it. What do you reckon?
I would.
Is that a possibility? It certainly is, isn't it? If you look at her history.
I would respect her dropping out of the race to go be a medic for her National Guard unit. Certainly, I would do that, but that's not what she did.
And also, you know what? You wouldn't want to fucking broadcast that, would you? You'd be a target. Wouldn't you?
I'm already a target, Gordon.
You know what? If this fucking corona, whatever the fuck their COVID... whether it is organic or not, I can guarantee you, if they've got a fucking way to reverse engineer that, then it's like E = MC squared. And do it the other fucking way.
Oh, absolutely.
So they can create a fucker. If they can isolate it, they can create it. And if they can isolate it, they can weaponize it. And if you can see where I'm going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What I saw Tulsi Gabbard do was make a calculated political move.
And when I
where,
say they, by the way, could be anybody.
yeah,
Any rich motherfucker who is trying to take advantage of this situation.
absolutely. That is precisely correct there. What I saw Tulsi do is, if she believes the words that come out of her mouth, then what she did was put herself in the position where her philosophy would be most likely to be implemented, rather than once again get 100% shunned by her own party. Now, I don't know Tulsi Gabbard personally, so I don't claim to know what goes on in her head. But I know that when politicians talk about politics, they're doing it because they're selling a product. And nobody who didn't want to get fooled by Tulsi Gabbard got fooled by Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah,
it was the people who believed to the point to where it became quasi-religious.
Yeah.
In the
it's
message
like,
of
she's the chosen one. Oh, she's going to somehow go to the convention with 2 delegates and beat Biden, who has got 500 and whatever it is. How is she going to win that? What were you pinning your hopes on? You know, it's.
Yeah,
but at the same time, as I said, she never lied to anybody. All the people who smeared her and said that she was going to run third party, blah, 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 they were all proved wrong. The only people, as you have just pointed out, who were offended, disappointed here, are the people who believed in the fairy tale that going to go to the convention with 2 delegates and somehow become president.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I've been trying to get this across to people a lot lately, that political identity has replaced religion on the secular left and the secular
It has. It really has. People are fucking believing in Jeremy Corbyn like he's the fucking second coming of the Jesus Christ. Oh, it's like... You know what the problem is, Steve? They've been watching too much fucking Marvel superheroes, expecting fucking Iron Man to come and save them, or Marvel, or whatever it is.
I mean, you might be right. In an absence of any kind of actual spirituality, people are going to transfer the same kind of energy into something else. And for the people who have become political junkies, they have transferred that energy onto Tulsi Gabbard or Bernie Sanders or AOC or or in the center, Hillary Clinton or fucking whoever, Elizabeth Warren. There were people. Did you see the people who got Elizabeth Warren tattoos? Did you see that shit? Where they got code written right on their arms like one would in a goddamn.
Did they get their mortgage paid? If they got their mortgage paid, I understand it. But for fuck's sake, if you did that for free, then you need to be in a mental patient. You know what? They're probably taking those people away right now in London. Who fucking knows? We signed our rights away. What do I know? I don't care. We're fucking... I'm in here with Ellie. We're fine. We're talking to you. We're all right. I've been practicing self-isolation for about 10 years of depression. I don't mind. I can survive this shit. Come on.
Yeah,
I've got a freezer full of old shit left from Christmas.
I think a lot of people found out that social distancing didn't impact the way that they lived their lives whatsoever.
You know what? Spare. How about the people who are suffering from fucking depression right now and PTSD? Is anybody in America like? How are you preparing for this? Are you preparing for like the veterans who are, on the streets and the homeless? Isn't Trump's just said we're going to fucking take the hit or whatever it is, hasn't he?
So I know that in California, what our governor said is that they were going to commandeer hotel rooms for homeless people. As to whether or not that's happened, I don't really know. I can't say. We're going into this thing. 22 veterans a day committed suicide. That was the rate that we're at. I can only speculate that those numbers will increase during forced isolation. And I would stress to people that if you're still allowed to go outside, that social distancing and physical distancing are two very different things.
Yeah, and also
Physical distancing.
humanity as well. You know,
Yeah.
forget about the distance. Humanity. Reach out to people who you think are a cunt, and just say, "I'm here if you need me." Just reach out to people, your neighbours who you know are a cunt, and just be fucking good, because we need each other right now.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
And we can't, no, from the very first show that I did on Slow News Day, I told people that if you take away anything from this show at all, it's that you need to work on community sustainability and try to get the immediate area you live in as least reliant on federal authority, centralized authority as possible. Um, I also, advocated that we all go on general strikes. I think that we have an opportunity now to do all of those things. I think that we can start coming together in our communities, even if we're physically distant from each other, to grow as much fucking food as we can. I think that we can work out a mutual aid program within our own areas that allow work to get done, allow homes to stay habitable or be safe, and that there can be a fair and equitable system that arises from that labor. I do. And I think that the way to do that.
That's a really good answer, man.
I
I
also
just
think
like to
that,
go, whoa.
thank you.
That's a fucking good answer. Listen to
Um,
that, man, everybody.
I think that while we're at it, while we're stuck at home, while there's a stay-at-home order, um, we need to turn that into a general strike. I think we need to turn that into a global general strike. I think
No,
that
man. Look at the
the
people who we're relying on right now. Who we're relying on right now? The very people who have been fucked in the ass by austerity and these fucking lies that they've been telling them for years. The working class, the nurses, the doctors who have been underpaid, the fucking gig economy workers now who the fucking government don't realise. Oh, right, yeah, that's why they're dragging their heels on the self-employed. That's why Rishi Sunak right now is up there saying we need a couple of days to think about the self-employed, because the self-employed include all of those people on 0 hours contracts. And now they're wondering, why is it that the universal credit system had a queue of 70,000 people just to register today? I wonder, couldn't somebody there, an average person, have been there, gone, yeah, that whole fucking thing's going to crash in about 0.5 seconds? Because I could have fucking told them that. And so could all the millions, feel like The Rock, and millions of fucking people in the UK who have been through the universal credit system. Any of them could have told them. Yeah. And especially the fucking staff. They must be yelling at the top of their voices. What the fuck? It's going to crash. And then there's a queue for 70,000 people just to register. I wonder how that happened, Steve. Do you think that the United States is going to cope with this any better? And how do you think your healthcare system is going to, I know this is an oxymoron, but take care of their health?
I mean, we're already seeing in a couple of smaller areas runs on banks where in terms of cash, available cash in the US, there's like 80 to $88 billion of actual cash. There are 327 million people. The vast majority of people that have bank accounts their banks don't have all the available cash versus what the keystrokes say. If people were to go
No, of
and
course
try
not.
and
Of
claim,
course not. Of course not. I can imagine there are people who've got like $1 million in their bank, who their local branch down the street. If they walked in and said, "Yeah, I'd like £1 million, please," no fucking way they're walking out of there that day with £1 million cash. Even if they want it for toilet roll, probably what they'll use it for in a couple of days.
oh, absolutely.
Good point.
And I think that's part of the push for a U.S. digital currency, is because none of this is a surprise to the people in power. We have had the legal framework for medical martial law, Gordon, on our books since 2009.
Trained by the IDF as well.
Yes, 100%. Um, the, I'm going to say that again. None of the people in power are surprised by what's going on. They're all reading off of the same script. If you listen to what Trump is saying and what Andrew Cuomo is saying, it's really not that different. They're just using different words to sell the same story.
My mate Garland Nixon called it the language of the empire. That's what he called it. They're speaking a different language. Just a different language. And they speak a different language, and then the media run around and go, this is what, and this is what, you decide. No, that's a fucking game show. That's not news. News is me screaming at the fucking camera going, they're taking your fucking rights away. That is what. And this is how sad the fucking news is in this country right now on the television, is that the only person on the television in this country I can look at and go, you know what? He's actually trying to do something. His Piers Morgan. Yep. It's like over in America, you've only got, what's his name? Fucking Hannity or what's his name? No, Carlson. Tucker Carlson. Yeah. You've only got him. We've only got, have you fucking set it up this way? What the fuck is going on?
Well, yeah, it is set up this way. If we had access to primary source documents and firsthand accounts of what went on, then we would all be going to WikiLeaks for our information. The nightly news would be highlighting what's in WikiLeaks every broadcast. But you have to have something like the OPCW go down, where were it not for WikiLeaks, they would still be calling me a tinfoil hat conspiracist, along with Jonathan and me. And you, doubt me. We knew and we talked about it and we got smeared for it. But thanks to WikiLeaks, we have been vindicated and proven to be right about this. I don't think for a moment that Tucker Carlson is not still the slimy little bow tie wearing neocon bastard that he was 20 years ago. I don't. But what I think he's doing is he's helping wrangle people who would otherwise go to other sources of information that are more accurate and less biased. And then they might start to think more critically for themselves. I think that Tucker's got a great shtick going, and I'm glad that part of that shtick involves putting people like Roger Waters on his show, because you're not going to get that in a mainstream setting.
You know how I feel? I look at Tucker Carlson. Shouldn't cough, man. They'll think I've got COVID. There'll be a conspiracy. I look at him like the fly in the ointment. You know, I look at him like he's the fly in the ointment, and he's the outlier, and he does what he does. And honestly, there's a lot that I've been through over the last few years that have made me think, who are the good guys? You know, and then I think, are there any good guys? I'm a good guy. You're a good guy. And then you get fucking disappointed every single time. I'm sure people have got disappointed in me. I hear it in my mentions all the time. And then you just think, well, isn't that just the way it's meant to be? And we're just all trying to fucking find our way through this, and we're all in our little bubbles. And at the moment, Tucker Carlson is just, he's the guy who is needed right now just because it's so fucking ridiculous. And the reason Piers Morgan is coming to the fore is because it's like capitalism all capitulating on itself. It's like the end of Terminator 2, Steve? Like, we're seeing all the nasty fucking, after Arnie says hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
We
are.
And then it's just, like you say, what comes next? Everybody's worried about this. People, I heard the Off Guardian today saying, cashless society. A cashless society takes away your liberties and takes away. They can do this and they can do that and they can do the other. And I just said to him one sentence: how is that fucking different to cash? Because if you say it isn't, let's go down to Belmarsh right now while I introduce you to Julian Assange, and we'll see all about how you fucking think about anything. Because whatever you think, that they can't take away, they can take it away. They really can.
Yeah, and I've said since this thing started that we're going to lose a lot during the next several months. But the one thing that they really can't take away from you is your sense of community. You can still find a way to be a part of your community throughout all of this. I got a note in my mailbox yesterday.
Family, community, then save the world.
Yeah, I got a note in my mailbox. It was a handwritten note wrapped around some lemon heads, some candy. It was great. And it was my neighbor, and this guy in everybody's mailbox on the road. Hey, I work at the pharmacy. If you have to be homebound for this and you need prescriptions delivered, let me know and I'll be happy to do that for you.
Yeah, you know what? I fucking really, I've done something similar. I've got actually a letter over there that I sent to my, we've got about 20 houses or something like that in the little place I live, the little cul-de-sac. Yes, I live in a cul-de-sac. I'm posh. I haven't got a garage there. I don't own a Jag. I did the same thing, and somebody rang me up. Actually, it was really nice. Just to say thank you, and that gave me a little bit of a boost. It's like, okay, but I didn't do it for that. I did it just to say to people, this is going to be for a while. We're going to need to help each other. And even if it's not this, it's going to be something else. Have you listened to Greta fucking Thunberg? She's like another, like Peter Mandelson, whenever she comes on screen. Dum, 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 dum. She's impending doom. Whatever she's talking about, we need to fucking listen to.
I wish
she is an actress, whatever it is. I've seen so many pictures. She's trained by people, isn't she, to do this shit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Her parents were longtime environmental activists, and the person who discovered her during her one-person protest also happened to be the president of an NGO that sells green capitalism. And look, I understand.
Steve,
I just wish it wasn't about green capitalism, Gordon. I do. I wish that it was about fixing the planet. I wish that the same people that hadn't wrecked the planet are now using a child to hold the rest of the planet hostage and extort it back to us. That's what I wish. No matter how correct she is on the majority of the shit that she says, I wish that caveat wasn't attached to it. I do. Because we are losing our planet. There's no fucking arguing that. You can't poison the air and the water and the fucking skies and the food and and the grass or the dirt that the food grows in. You can't poison that for well over a century and expect sustainability.
And where is the person on the television talking to the masses and saying to people, listen, all this climate change bullshit that you're arguing about, is it real? Is it man-made? All that bullshit. You know what? My personal opinion is climate change is fucking happening. I've done the math. Happening. It really is. I've done the fucking math. I was on Countdown. Go watch the episodes. I'm really good at fucking math. That's why I was a really successful poker player, playing 35 games at a time at the $16 level and making a 12% ROI over a year. I'm good at math. Everything is math, just the same as everything is energy. I'm good at it. You have to look at things. I forgot my train of thought. I'm really drunk, mate.
Awesome. You know what? Hang on just a moment. I'm going to grab a beverage here real quick, and I will take a small amount of mushrooms. How about that?
Mushrooms?
Yeah.
Okay. So are these legal where you are?
They are, in fact. Santa Cruz County, as of January 1st, decriminalized the possession of an ounce or less of all entheogens, not just mushrooms or LSD, but all plant-based, plant-based psychedelics.
So these are banned now.
Pardon?
Are these? Sorry, they're banned now.
No. They're decriminalized.
They're decriminalized in
yeah,
where?
And not just possessing them, but cultivating them. You can grow psychedelic mushrooms in your own house now in Santa Cruz County.
Really? How long before that changed?
I don't think it will be. Oakland has decriminalized psychedelics, or decriminalized mushrooms at least. It's on the ballot. There's a number of states that have done that. Where I live in Santa Cruz County, in the town of Santa Cruz, there's MAPS. MAPS stands for the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies.
Right.
They have been doing just incredible work over the last 5 years, showing how psychedelics benefit people with PTSD and depression and a number of other things.
Oh man, this is something that really interests me because I've had both those things. I've suffered with both of them. Go on, carry on.
So small amounts of psychedelics have been shown through all of the extensive research and testing that MAPS did to vastly improve the overall quality of life for people who have PTSD and depression. I also am right there. And for me, I think that the benefits far outweigh whatever minimal risk there may be. So I am an advocate for microdosing psychedelics. I am also an advocate of macro-dosing occasionally, and as Bill Hicks put it, taking a squeegee to your third eye. I do believe that is a necessary part of our human evolution.
Yeah, I think it helps. It almost helps balance you to be unbalanced, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's the way I feel about it.
It helps you, or at least it helps me become a bit more jovial and not go to a doom and gloom scenario every time I'm encountered with a problem. And also colors are brighter, images are sharper, and shit is way funnier. I've yet to experience, aside from the horrible taste, I've yet to experience a downside. There's a question that I'm seeing in the chat that asks if I ever tried DMT, and the answer is yes, multiple times.
Have you really? I've thought more and more about this because Joe Rogan I listen to a lot too, and he repeats himself a hell of a lot, and people rib him for it, especially the tank and whatever he goes in. What's it like? Explain DMT to me. This is dimethyltryptamine or something like that.
Dimethyltryptamine. So what it does for me and what it does for a lot of people is you kind of go through a process, and the first process is you are peaking as hard as you ever thought you could, like you do on other psychedelics, but it's instant. There's no buildup. It's just freight train, boom, you're high as fuck. And while you're high as fuck, you go and you encounter an entity that tells you it's going to destroy your ego. And your ego and this entity have a battle, and the entity wins. And your ego is completely fucking shattered, and you emerge from that as open and as new, unformed as you've ever been in your entire life. And at that point, that's when I normally talk to. They basically kind of look like mushroom spores to me, but it's whatever presence or whatever collected energy over the course of civilization and whatever that thing is, we have a conversation, and I get told things and I ask things, and sometimes I can bring it back with me, and sometimes I can't. But it's one of the most just incredible experience.
This is some sort of like primordials that you're talking about.
It's possible. If matter can't be created or destroyed, then everything that currently has already been and will be. It's shaped different, and the energy is dispersed different.
Oh man.
I mean, that's what I think about it. I don't know. That's just an opinion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of how much of a cock I am.
All right.
Because one of my neighbours, excuse me, I haven't got Canova right. Well, who knows? I might have. I'm not rich. They won't give me a test. We won't find out. I'm not Idris Elba. I bet you if Madonna had the slightest fucking hiccup, she could get tested in a nanosecond. But if a nurse was on fucking an ICU in New Cross right now, they'd just treat her and say, we don't even fucking want you part of these. Because that story gets out, who knows what that would look like if a nurse, you know? You can see the sort of shit that if they can manipulate the news at 10, it's a piece of piss to do it at the fucking Express and Star. I'm going to find out about that West Midlands police article. I'm starting to get crazy and thinking it's fucking fake news. I'm going to, and if it's fake news, that's even worse than what it is, which is fucking awful.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. It is. It's crazy. If they staged...
I'm sorry, Steve. You said you wanted to talk to somebody who was angry. I'm angry.
I'm not regretting a moment of this, Gordon.
Thank you, man. I get what you call it, really bad. Imposter syndrome. Really bad. Really bad, to the point where my fiance is like, fucking a problem. You know, you got to get over this shit. And it's there, man. It's on my shoulder. Like, they're going to find out you're a fraud. Sooner or later, in my life, every single time, whenever I've got confidence, somebody's gone. Every single time. It's going to happen again, I know it is. And this time, hopefully, I'll be able to go, I'm a guy from a council estate who's doing this with his fucking noggin and a thing, and I'm still doing better than you. Fuck you. And it's sort of trying to help me get through it, you know?
Yeah.
Certainly help me getting through this, as well with alcohol and other stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do. I'm right now in front of me is a tincture that has like blue lotus and how you spell it? Damiwana? which I don't know, dude. It's cool though. Promotes
It's
lucid
cool that
dreaming.
you can get. It's cool that you can get that shit. If you had some
This
of
is
that
all
shit,
this is all legal.
can you? I'm just trying to imagine if somebody had some of that shit that you've got there on them at that barbecue that the West Midlands Police tipped over today. Can you imagine if they had some of that on them? These jackbooted fucking thugs. They put it on Twitter like they were. Look at what we did. Look at what we did, everybody! We tipped over a barbecue! Because people didn't believe the very people, because those 20 people, I can guarantee you, if it wasn't the fact that they were there because there was their last meal because it was their depression group, or whatever it was, they fucking didn't care, as I said earlier. The point I'm trying to make is the thing that really gets me mad, mate, is injustice. And it's the thing that makes, we're all equal. We're all connected, all of us. We're all equal. And then they try and bend it.
Yeah.
And as soon as they do, they're fucking with nature. And we're not like that. We're all equal. And if we can really get along. We've been here for fucking, how long? 200,000 years? We've got to figure out a better way forward than doing what we're doing, because we're just consuming right now. And our consumption is just driving all of these wars. You look at what the very currency that is driving all these wars is the almighty dollar, and the petrodollar that our media talk about. That's the very thing that's driving all of these wars. Our media don't say it. The average person on the street, they know it, but they carry on with their lives, whatever, because they're fine in their little bubble. You know, they've got their own shit to deal with. You know, their 15-year-old daughter is fucking this 18-year-old black kid, and black kids are bad as far as he knows through his experiences. You understand what I mean?
I do.
That we can't continue consuming like this. Have you seen what we're doing with the fucking trees and the what is it? The palm oil that they're destroying. And this is all because we want 17 different flavors of Doritos.
Yeah. 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 No, you're absolutely right. If it's designed to be unsustainable, then the people who have designed it thusly are never going to be surprised when a catastrophe hits. The U.S. intelligence community, one of the mottos is never let a good crisis go to waste.
We're in a crisis, a good crisis.
And at this moment, the United States Department of Justice is seeking emergency powers, Gordon, emergency powers to be able to indefinitely detain any U.S. citizen who is caught violating a curfew or a stay-at-home order. If you, and this is going to be speculation now, because
and the media, no doubt, are going, is this martial law? Is this a version of how authoritarian is this? Meanwhile, the person going, this is martial law, is nowhere on the studio.
absolutely. And we're at the point where they're going to slowly roll out the conversation about mandatory vaccination for this thing. I don't trust my government enough.
But at the same time, I don't trust people.
Yeah.
It's a fucking paradox, because I don't trust the government. I think that they really will do their eugenics fucking trick. and start manipulating people and saying, no, you can't have children and you can't because you've got a big brain and you are the most sociopathic, narcissistic person on the planet. You're going to be president. I can see them fucking doing that shit. But at the same time, I don't want these anti-vaxxers running around going, meanwhile, they're going to infect your child with smallpox or some fucking horrible virus just because. And this is the thing, I want to come back to this fucking article.
Sure.
It's bothered me today, this article has. You can probably gather. Oh, God. It finishes like this. Our officers were forced to chip the barbecue over as the defiant group initially refused to leave. In other words, these are some brown people. They blurred their faces at the top, but I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me. They're some brown fucking people. And that's some flats. And that's some brown people on a council. I can guarantee you right now that Katy Perry or some privileged bitch somewhere in the United Kingdom right fucking now is doing far worse than having a gathering of 20 people who don't believe the government is telling them what they're telling them, when for all of their lives, the government has lied to them over and over and over and over again. They don't believe it. Especially brown people who know that these jackbooted fucking thugs didn't give a shit and just saw brown people having a good fucking time, maybe a last good time for 3 months. Who fucking know? And they walked in and tipped over the barbecue and then bragged about it on fucking Twitter. And then, oh, I'm not finished, Steve. I posted this. I said, the government and media have lied to them repeatedly all their lives. Just look at their brown people from a council estate. They probably come from fucking some place else. Or their mothers and fathers did. Probably the Windrush generation, maybe. Maybe some of them have seen some of their families who have spent all of their lives over here, got fucked off on a boat back to the Bahamas or some shit like that, and Windrush. You see my point? Been persecuted all their lives. There are different rules for them than there are for Katy Perry or Graham fucking Norton. And this is what people are pissed off about. And this is what they don't understand. And this is what they need to understand and what people need to understand, because otherwise they're going to keep taking the power away from you. So I said this just recently. These people have been lied to all their lives. Just recently, you've got Syria. You've got the bullshit in Duma. You know what? Let's come back to it, Steve. Let's talk about the bullshit in Duma, because I'm sure you followed this shit. We'll come back to that again, mate, if you don't mind.
No. From day one, we came out and said something doesn't smell right about this. Every May there seems to be a gas attack in Duma, and every time Donald Trump signals that he may want to pull troops out of Syria, there's another, oh my God, look what Assad did to his own people. So we're like, something's a little off here. As early as last summer, we had a leak come out from someone who was part of the fact-finding team for the OPCW. And the leak corroborated what we had been saying. Fast forward, I think, 2 months, and WikiLeaks produces not just that material, but material from a second whistleblower. And we went, are you goddamn kidding me? Look at how, look at what happened. We told you that this was way different than what has been reported. Again, we started, seeing the smears on us ramp up, and this time coming more from Bellingcat and their affiliates than anyone else, any other quadrant.
I'm sure, by the way, in all fairness, I'm sure Bellingcat is a wonderful operation. Not fucking propagandist for hire at all. On the record. Sorry, carry on, Steve.
Oh, that's hilarious. So there were a total of 4 WikiLeaks drops surrounding the OPCW reports. And what you learn when you read the documents, the primary source material, as you should when you want to form an opinion on something, is read the primary source material. As you read it, you discover unequivocally that the OPCW was given a conclusion with which to work backwards from in order to shore up the predetermined result.
Yeah, and that's what to me, that's what I see. Bellingcat and White Helmets, that's what they're just there to fit the narrative that needs done. And that's it. And there were people at the OPCW who, well, let's face it, they needed to be nudged into a different direction. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why you see, the leaks of Ian Henderson is this is a fucking expert, a highly respected expert who has gone on record saying, yeah, they weren't dropped from a fucking helicopter. That's what you've been told. And I spoke to Piers Robinson, and those bodies had to come from somewhere. So who shipped them in? And then you start thinking like Occam's razor, most logical explanation that takes the least amount of assumptions is most likely to be true. And the White Helmets were in the area, and we know that the White Helmets has got a history of fabricating shit and being involved with. Who knows if that fucking organisation was set up for good reasons and then turn bad, or was set up for bad reasons? I don't fucking know, and I don't care. All I know is it's bad now. It's plainly either bad now, or you're going to pull some fucking whole 180 twist on us with some Matt Damon ending. Who knows? But Alexander Majirier, he fell out of a fucking window. Isn't that convenient? Just like Jeffrey Epstein, he killed himself. Who the fuck are you kidding? The average person on the street who is following shit can see this, and certainly the people who hear me and you can hear this. It's bullshit, and this genie's out the bottle now, and they've got to at some stage address that shit, because those people were fucking killed there, and this whole whatever it is was spun, and it's all bullshit. Are we gonna just fucking in 20 years gonna be talking about this like we are about 9/11 now? Is that the plan?
I mean, look at what's happened. While in the last year and a half, that particular gas attack is now proven to be a false flag. Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, who, by the way, I just saw is being released from jail now because he's got the Rona. But we've got the imprisonment.
My heart goes out to him.
We've got Julian Assange still in Belmarsh prison. All of these things are nudges for a lot of just regular people who have tuned out or too busy to open their eyes to the actual world that they live in. We've had more people sort of wake up over the last 5 years than really in a very, very, very long than we have in a very, very, very long time. And now we have a global pandemic where we're being told to socially distance, which is boardroom talk for self-isolate. We're being told to consume the fear porn that they're selling us, and only the fear porn that they're selling us. Believe the official narrative and only the official narrative. Pick whatever news outlet has red team, blue team, but believe that narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I've just showed you a fucking report of this West Midlands police who have broken up this gathering of 20 people, and the rules are you can't be in a gathering of more than 2 people in this country. Who decides that? I tell you, who decides that? I tell you who fucking decides that? Not Joe Biden, what you're seeing at the moment. People who would decide that are these jackbooted motherfuckers who tipped over that fucking barbecue tonight, or today, or whenever. That's if this is true. It might be fake news. Who fucking knows? Bill Casey, he said that back in 81. We could be fucking, he could have completed this in 89 and we don't know. Because, like he said to Reagan, you know the saying, don't you, mate? We will know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything the public believes is false. Who knows? They might have completed it in 1989 and you and I are talking about bollocks. The point I'm trying to make is the people making these fucking decisions right now are these motherfuckers on the street who are quite plainly there because they're police, and let's face it, if they're police, they're most likely racist. Because that's what I've seen. They've been fine with me. I'm white. But I've seen them with black people. And it's different.
So this may come as a surprise to you, Gordon, but I have fit the description plenty of times for our American police force. I've got the shit beat out of me by the cops a handful of times, and I've been locked up before. I had my head cracked open at my first protest in 1999. I can imagine,
Steve, you fit the profile of somebody who just looks like somebody who doesn't fit in, therefore troublemaker. I can see it. We all do it to a certain extent, and let's face it, if you're fucking stupid enough to be a copper, then the chances are that they're going to categorise people like that just because you're a cop. Dude, you're that guy in Game of Thrones with a stick. That's basically a policeman. You get varying.
You're not wrong. What it is. The thing I was trying to get across there though was that we conveniently have a global pandemic right as they're rigging another U.S. election in broad daylight.
The timing is incredible, isn't it?
Where's Ghislaine Maxwell for this? Has anyone heard about Ghislaine Maxwell in fucking months? Like the Zorro Ranch that Epstein had in New Mexico still has never been visited by a team of fucking law enforcement to see what was in there. Money is apparently still being moved around in his accounts. Nobody is talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody is talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. Nobody's even talking outside of like Twitter about how the election's being stolen. There's only fear porn and all fear porn, and they're categorizing it. They're invoking 9/11. They're invoking World War II. They're invoking all of these times when we had massive transfers of wealth away from regular people to the very, very top 1.1%.
Yeah, they're harkening back to the times where they were fucked the most. It's like, oh, I can't wait for this. Yeah, that's when those last rights were privileges were taken away from you. It's I worry about this, Steve, though. I really do over here. I can't stress it enough. I really worry about it. It says here it's vital everyone follows the lockdown instructions. They are essential and it will save lives. Our officers and PCSOs, those are the pricks who are that stupid they can't even pass the fucking test to get into the police, so they have to be the fucking unpaid lackeys of the police officers just because they want a little bit of power. That's basically what they are. And speaking from a distance of 2 meters with anyone we suspect in breaching the new regulations. If people do not listen to our advice, then we will move to enforcement, and our chief constable has vowed that we will target the most problematic behaviour. Here's my problem with this, Steve, all of it. I think this is bullshit. I think this is fake news. I think that's manufactured and manufactured to make people. It's a story that I think our news is full of it. And I'm going to fucking find out. Because that's West Midlands and it's Coventry and it's about 30 miles from me, and I'm going to catch a fucking train when they're finally running again because we're in their lockdown. Because that, I think, is the sort of shit that's going on up and down this fucking country. And I think it's the sort of shit that Donald Trump. I think we're going to fucking figure it all out, guys.
Absolutely.
I hope
the way we do that is just keep doing what we're doing. We're if we're on lockdown, we might as well be putting out a fuck ton of content.
Well, I've been doing that. I'm sure you have as well. I've seen it, man. You're putting out a ton as well. You're going live 3 times a day now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Which I have to do in about an hour and a half as well. So I should probably wrap it up.
It's 2 hours too long for you, Steve?
No. I'm gonna do another 2-hour show later.
It's far too long for me. As my audience have probably fucking seen.
You've been on the Presidency Vigil. We've gone like 4 or 5 hours on those things. It is exhausting, man.
Yeah, but we just got to do what we can do because, you know what? At least I hope, Steve, that, you know what, sometime in 20, 30 years, somebody's going to pick up, I don't know, a fucking cassette that's labelled YouTube, and it's going to have all of YouTube on it. YouTube would have gone by then, you know. The globalists would have fucking took it and erased everything or changed it and changed history. They fucking sound like Alex Jones. And there's going to be this fucking thing with YouTube on it, and somebody's going to plug it in, and they're going to find me and you talking about this. Maybe, hopefully, people can look back and see that we're documenting real shit right now that the people that ordinary people are listening to on the television are just not aware of. I mean, I've covered, I mentioned Syria there. I mean, these people, Steve, these people, they, as I said at the time, they have been, you know, told for years that lies about Syria, lies about the Skripals, Iraqi weapons of mass destruction. Look at the Tower 7 bollocks. You know about Tower 7. They fucking reported it 20 minutes even before it fell. And they said, oh, we lost the tapes. Oh, I know it looks bad, but don't look into it too much, otherwise you'll be dead. You can hardly blame these people for thinking that the government is crying wolf again. It's all bullshit. Let's have one last barbecue. And what happens is coppers turn up because they're brown people and they're poor and they're not Katy Perry or Graham Norton having his fucking soiree or whatever. If they're not doing that, they're doing some bollocks on, look at me, oh fuck, there's not a camera on me for the last 24 hours, I must get something out there. It drives me mad, I'm really angry, and I really thank you for joining me while I have a breakdown on camera. Because I've been locked down for a week and it's just me and my dog, and I appreciate you, man, thank you for helping me. We're all getting
there. Gordon, you are one of my favorite people, man. I I love chatting with you. I enjoyed the time that we had today, and I'm sure we'll do it again because it doesn't look like any of us are going anywhere for a while.
No, we're going to be here for a while, I think, because the people sorting this out are ex-game show host Donald Trump and ex-game show host Boris Johnson. We're all doomed. Did you know that China is building 6,000 miles of motorway every single year? We're fucked, everybody. Good night. Good night, Steve.
Good night.